Dragon Quest is a big deal. The game's practically invented the console RPG, and the series spawned so many games. Just so many games. We're talking 11 mainline releases, an MMO that started as a Wii exclusive, dozens of side games and spin-offs with genres ranging from virtual board games to roguelikes to Minecraft alternatives, anime, manga, a goddamn 3D animated feature-length movie. It really shouldn't be a surprise that the hero was added into Smash Brothers. This franchise is so unfathomably massive and culturally significant that it's been quoted that the creator of the games, Yuji Horii, is a household name in Japan. Household as in the equivalence of casually making reference to Steven Spielberg here in America and not having to explain who he is. Wait, hold on. Is Spielberg still relevant? Like, does everyone know who he is today? Maybe? Fuck, okay. Yuji Horii's namesake is on the same level as, Travis Scott? Taylor Swift? Jeff Bezos? I don't know, man. You know what? Fuck it. Horii's name is as notable as Jesus Christ's. There really is no comparison. It's clear to me that Dragon Quest and Yuji Horii are bigger than Jesus. I mean, everybody knows the slime. So, since it's such a big deal, I had to know what it was all about. And what better way to start than the very first game in the series? You know, the one that has the most basic mechanics and the jankiest of problems. If anything, it's part of the experience. Just adds to the challenge. The Snow Dog Challenge. So I'm playing the earliest version of the game that's also in a language that I can read, Dragon Warrior for the NES. Before even beginning, I'm given the choice of entering a name. What's my name? Oh, sure. So the game just starts out, and that's actually kind of refreshing, and may the light shine upon the butthole. Fortune smiles upon the butthole. Butthole attacks. Yeah, no, we're not doing this. Okay, we can do this again. What's my name? Spence. There we go. That's my name. So anyways, the game wastes no time getting started, which is actually kind of nice since RPGs like to take their sweet time with world building and all of that crap. You get a briefing from the king, informing you that his daughter and kingdom needs saving and that we're the only man for the job. You're locked into this dungeon until you can figure out how to open chests and doors, and once you're out of the dungeon and out of the castle, the world is yours. And what a world it is. There are towering mountains, dense forests, wide open plains. The perfect backdrop for any fantasy adventure. Amusingly, the final destination of the game, the Dragonlord's castle, is right across a wide river from the starting town. Seriously, a river is the only thing that's making me take the long way around. It's actually kind of motivating having the castle in view from the start. Not only do you instantly know what your goal is, but it acts as a reminder every time you turn on the game. A foreboding presence of evil, always in view. I imagine that it also serves as a constant source of depression and dread for the denizens of the kingdom. Outside of the castle, you're introduced to 90% of the game's content right here. Turn-based combat. I understand that it's something of a mandatory feature of RPGs of the J variety, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game's mere existence is a major reason for that. It's not incredibly deep. You can fight, cast spells, use items, or run away. That's it. No summoning, no party member coordination, no timed button press action commands, no switching Pokemon, rock, paper, scissor type weaknesses, or team attacks, no acting, no sparing, no praying, no rollback counter, absolutely no defending or dodging, no limit breaks, no stamina bar, no button sequence inputs, super meters, star power, no attack canceling, wave dashing, short hop, fastball, L canceling, no out of shield options, no bunny hopping, rocket jumping, or augmentation, and most importantly, no cheat codes.
You got it.
What you see is what you get. Really though, this was it for 1986. It's not like I was expecting much. Expecting anything more than the basics for Dragon Quest I is like expecting to easily find work after secondary education. The most amount of fun you could have with this battle system is with the adrenaline rush you get by tempting the fates when you have low HP. Of course, nobody says that you have to fight. It easily gets boring after all, so you could just try to run away from everything. But you and I both know what will happen when you attempt embarking down this path. Stronger enemies will keep you from running, and will break your neck with a sensual caress of their pinkies. Aside from having to start back at the castle, you lose half of the gold that you're carrying when you die. And no, there are no banks or ATMs. This is Fantasyland, not Fortune Street. Rich people still haven't invented ways to make money for free and legally rob peasants yet. Thankfully, you don't lose experience from dying, but you probably know how bad it feels to lose a big percentage of cash. It's also really difficult to gauge just how deadly foes are without jeopardizing progress. Because stronger enemies are more likely to keep you from running away, the optimal strategy is then to grind to the point where you can fight them without taking serious damage. That's right. The best strategy is to go full risk aversion capitalist mode. Weird, right? I just said that this wasn't Fortune Street. So, start with full health and make your way to an area that spawns the strongest enemies that you can handle. Walk back and forth to trigger battles and run away from the extra spooky looking ones unless you have full HP to see if you can fight them. Once your HP gets down to like, say, 10, go back to the cheapest inn, spend the night, and go back out to repeat the process all over again, saving occasionally. And that's the plan for the whole game. Sure, you'll later gain access to spells that'll make playing the game a little bit more interesting, but that's pretty much it. There are certainly more engaging ways of spending time with video games in this day and age, but Dragon Quest still has this core to it that can entice even the most evolved gaming sensibilities, if merely for a few minutes. Watching arbitrary numbers go up is one of several innately satisfying things for the human psyche, but here, in the RPG, your numbers aren't simply arbitrary. They have context to them, representing skill acquired, enemies killed, suffering endured. While the combat is mindless here, each battle is driven by that base desire for your experience to grow, and you never truly know how much more you need to gain a level. But with each encounter, conquering enemy after enemy, eventually you'll get rewarded for your perseverance and level up. The feeling of being promoted to a higher level is never unsatisfying. It's the game recognizing the effort you put into dealing with the monotony of grinding by giving you juicy rewards. Usually you get a couple of boons to your stats, but sometimes attributes will go up by like 15 points. And even bigger celebrations are called for when you learn a new spell. All of these aspects add so much to the anticipation of leveling up. It's like waiting for Christmas morning and getting a real, tangible love letter from your waifu. So after gaining some levels and getting some decent gear, enemies will start to die more easily. Feels good, man. But, more importantly, I can now go to more places. The closest locations are a cave to the north and a town in the northwest. The town is, well, off limits. At least for now. The items there are too expensive, and there's this locked door there as well. The cave contains a tablet from Erdrick, your legendary hero of an ancestor, that says you need 3 items to make it to the Isle of Dragons. Not super valuable, but at least it lets you know early on that there's some mystical doodads that you need to beat the game. Unlike some other games that dump treasure hunts on towards the end. To the east lies a cave engulfed in a poison swamp that drains your health with every step you take. So fuck that for now. North from that swamp is a different cave with an old man just hanging out inside. By the way, what is the deal with old men living in caves? Zelda also had the same thing. Is this just a normal thing for fantasy societies to force their old men into caves? Or do the men just like caves? Anyways, he says he has something for me, but he isn't giving it up until I have some dumb harp. Onwards to the east, we have the brilliantly planned town of Cole. So, check this guy out, hanging out in a hut surrounded by poison. Surely, if my expert gaming knowledge tells me anything, if I put myself at risk, I will get a reward. Okay, thanks, asshole. There's also a problem with one of the item shops in this town, but to understand this problem, I must first tell you about how NPCs work. It isn't much different than any other game, just walk up to them and talk, but because they're programmed to move around sporadically, as real people do in the real world, I often end up aggravatingly chasing them down just to converse with them. Ironically, it's a similar experience to the little dance you do when you're trying to avoid other people when you're walking around. However, that experience is nothing compared to making your way to the item shop in Cole. Somebody thought that not only was it a good idea to have the entrance behind a narrow, zigzagging path, but the same town planner also thought that this same maze was prime real estate to let meandering idiots camp out in. Look at this. This hallway is a 1-tile wide choke point, and this fucking fat ass is blocking my way. I would walk around the outskirts of the town, or that just sends me back to the overworld. So I am forced to wait in this hallway while he dawdles around like my dad at Home Depot. Oh, come on, move! Please move. Can you find somewhere to stand that isn't in front of the only route to the shop? Get out of my way! For the love of God, move your ass! My best strategy, if you can even call it a strategy, is what I can imagine to be the best way to raise a particularly difficult teenager. Just give them their space, let them figure things out for themselves. And when the time comes, they will be out of your life and be far enough away from you so that you can completely forget that they ever even existed. Even still, because of the random nature of their movements, it can be anywhere from 5 seconds to 5 minutes until they finally get out of the way. For a game like this, you'd think that control wouldn't be a big problem, and it isn't. And what I mean by that is whatever clunkiness exists won't hamper the experience much because RPGs don't require precision. That being said, walking can feel like a chore because of how slow you move and how sticky it feels. I can tap the D-pad to face a particular direction without moving, but then the window for how long you need to hold it before you start to move feels too long. So when I wanted to move a single square, I either wouldn't move because it didn't hold it long enough, or I would go too far holding it for too long. The menus also take a bit of getting used to. The A button does almost everything, but that's because its immediate function is bringing up the menu. A menu, by the way, with 8 categories, 5 of which could have just been delegated to a single action. I want to talk to this guy, right? So in most games, I would press A and be chatting it up right there. But here, I have to press A again to select talk. That's not too bad, but what if I want to open a chest? Then I gotta haul the cursor to the bottom right and press A. And only then can I get the goods inside. That's a lot of work just to open a chest. It's annoying to deal with now, of course, but it probably could have been way worse too. Imagine if the menu was assigned to the start button, and you'd have to reach your withered thumb to the center of the controller every time you needed to do anything. And at least the most used actions are towards the top of the list. On a more positive note, you don't even have to mash the A button to choose actions or advanced text. You can just hold it down. That's right, you can hold A to keep any text scrolling. This means that you can basically hold down A to auto-fight in battles. And that just blows my mind that any feature like this would be in an RPG from this era. Speaking of things I wasn't expecting, when your HP gets down to a certain near-to-death threshold, the text boxes change their color to pink, indicating that
user death imminent.
Again, this is kind of a cool feature for 1986, but what's more interesting is that it just swaps the palette. So anything that was sharing the color of white now becomes pink too. The clouds, the mountains, the water, the towns, and any white enemies are now pink. It's almost like the world is connected to the hero, and that it being structurally sound relies on him maintaining his health. Maybe the world is within his mind, a realm of his own creation. Or perhaps it is somehow a symbiotic relationship in which they need each other to exist. Maybe it's a manifestation of his own consciousness that is so powerful that it became a living, breathing world, calling other beings into existence. And this world then became so powerful that it continued to exist inevitably, only to be eradicated when his soul and essence would be brought to peace. Nah, it's obviously just a quirk of the NES. Anyway, there's still no clear path to take, so all the while I've kept grinding and buying goodies. There's a bigger cave to the west with buffer enemies and treasure inside. And one of the townspeople said that the princess is in a cave somewhere, thus all the more reason to venture in. Being stocked with delicious healing herbs and torches, of course. After downing a torch, you simply wander around in the dark maze, looking for cool points of interest, just like looking through dark places in real life. If you're good at not getting lost like I am, then this should be pretty easy. Unfortunately, most people aren't, so I'm assuming that caves generally give players a hard time. There's no princess here, but there is treasure, if you want to call it that. The gold is great, but I also found a fighter's ring and a cursed belt. I'm not exactly sure what the ring does, but I put it on anyways. I definitely don't want to find out what the belt does, though. Come on, it's a cursed belt. Obviously, it doesn't do anything good. I'm not stupid. I do like the enemy designs a lot in this game. They have great styles ranging from the funny and adorable, like the slimes, ghosts, and drakies. And then there's the spooky ones, like the magicians and skeletons. It is in the cave, though, where the really weird and fucked up enemies live. Just look at this thing. What the fuck is that? A droll? What the fuck is a droll? And why does it look like some hermit crab with psychological problems? I genuinely hate the way it's looking at me with its mouth hanging ajar. Well, maybe it can only breathe through its mouth. I mean, come on, do you see a nose on this thing? And oh my god. What is this thing? A druid. Is it related to a druid? It's got tentacles? Is it an aquatic creature? No, it can't be aquatic. This is a Dragon Quest cave, not the Pacific Ocean. So does it maybe swim through the air? Does it slug around on the ground? Does it do both? Man, these guys are freaking weird. I wouldn't say that I've been a massive fan of Akira Toriyama's art, and that's probably because the anime freaks that I knew were really obnoxious and loved Dragon Ball and all that stuff. Looking beyond that though, he was certainly a great choice of artist for this game. You know, because then marketing could say, featuring art from the creator of Dragon Ball. I mean, the slimes alone are proof of that. Just look at these damn little things. They're round, distinctly shaped, and they look like slime, but they also have a defined teardrop body. It's not just a malformed blob. These little lads, or ladettes, also have personality. That distinct smile, those big old eyes. You can tell that they're just happy to be here. I almost feel bad when I have to kill them. I gotta say, although these enemies are cool, I am severely disappointed that there are no rat or rat-like enemies. Especially a giant rat that could theoretically make all the rules. So that's gonna have to be a -2 for me. As you continue to grind and level up, it is really rewarding to see the game expand. Enemies that used to give you trouble become complete pushovers. The combat also becomes a bit more tactical with the learning of new spells. When encountering stronger enemies, it's best to try putting them to sleep with a sleep spell first to keep them from hitting you. Otherwise, the stop spell lets you keep enemies from using spells against you. It's more reliable than sleep and is an absolute godsend against enemies that try to ruin your day with their own magic. The hurt spell is learned before you get these other ones though, and it's definitely situational. It's handy when you're weaker, but you deal somewhere between 8 and 15 damage with it. It also doesn't scale with your offense, so it's not long before your basic attack outclasses it. Apparently, it's also supposed to be a fire spell called Sizz, but for some reason they called it Hurt for North America. I guess it does make more sense for it to be fire magic, but I really like the idea of a spell that damages enemies using only the power of pain. They aren't really being damaged, but it's the pure essence of pain that makes their bodies crumple to the ground. That's a bit morbid. Moving on. My character also has more HP now, which means that poison swamp cave to the east is now accessible. Inside, there's a green dragon somewhere that I most certainly will not fuck with because he deals like 20 damage to me in one hit. Otherwise, the cave leads me to the continent directly south. Yeah, baby! Now that's what I call progression. There's a town here called Rimeldar that has some exceptional finds. I can finally buy magic keys to get behind all those pesky doors. There's also information telling me that the harp I'm supposed to get is in the northwest town Garinham. And there's some seriously expensive gear here that's probably really good. Hopefully good. But holy shit, look at all this stuff. 1,000, 3,000, 7,700 gold? That's gonna be some serious grinding, which I do not want to get into right now. After all this anticipation, it's time to see what's behind all those locked doors. Who knows what incredible items could be inside? So I go to Tantagel, lock the door, and open the chests. And what do I get? Money. Fucking money. And it's not a lot of money either. This one key cost more than the return I got for using it. There's more of the castle to explore for using another key, which does get some helpful quest info, but there's also another place to buy keys here. This whole time, there was a place that I could purchase keys, and it was gated off by a single locked door. Oh, sure, they're more expensive than the town that I was just at, but I wouldn't have cared about how much they cost here if it was the first place that I could get them at. At this point, I am not going to waste my hard-earned cash on these pricier keys when I could just crest on over to Rimeldar and get more money and XP along the way. Was this a joke? Did they do this on purpose? Like was Yuji Horii yucking it up with his buddies say, hey, wouldn't it be funny if people learned that they could buy keys at the same town that they start in? And then everyone laughs and applauds. Koichi Nakamura instantly gets to work programming this NPC into the game. Months later, the review copy ships to the head reviewer of Famitsu. He plays through the game and unlocks this door. He pauses for a moment, then realizes the potential humor behind this mildly infuriating interaction with the family computer entertainment software cartridge and has a sensible chuckle. This sensible chuckle grows into an average laugh. The laugh then expands into a hysterical and primal roar. His diaphragm and abdominal muscles are forced to pull overtime due to the demands dictated by the funny sensors in his brain. Hardly any air is flowing into his lungs, thus depriving him of further oxygen entering his mind, which causes the funny sensors to become even more diluted and sensitive, forcing the vicious cycle to become even more powerful. Tears stream down his face. Mucus drains from his sinuses. Saliva pools onto the ground. Eventually, the emergency funny shut-off mechanism engages within his mind, thus delaying his inheritance of the book for the recently deceased. Reason prevails, his brain relaxes, and his breath returns to him. He washes the dried fluids from his face, sits back down, and resumes the position of playing Dragon Quest. He later writes in the next issue of Famitsu, "It made me laugh, it made me cry. 10 out of 10, would lol again." And that man's name? Shigeru Miyamoto. Okay, I checked a few more doors, still not anything amazing. But then I get to Garinham. This is the town where surely I can progress. There's a bunch of people hanging out behind the only door, and these two dudes behind this other door might have some information for me. So I'll just open up that door and it tells me to talk to the other guard. Okay, I'll talk to the other guard and motherfucker. Keys wasted, but it's okay. The grave here has a quest item for me, so let's just dive right in. Enemies aren't so bad. I can handle them, no issue. I wander around for a bit and get to another door, which I can unlock because I just got keys and no. What is this? I have no more keys. Great. Perfect. Let me just go all the way back and buy some more keys. Clearly, I shouldn't have been trying to satisfy my own curiosity of what was behind all of these locked doors. Clearly, it's my own fault. Let me just go all the way back and get some more keys. Might as well grab some armor and crap too before I go back to the other town. So I grab the armor, grab the keys, I haul my sorry ass all the way back to the door in the grave again, and finally I can go deeper into the dungeon. And what do I get for all of that? More powerful enemies that can cave my fucking skull in. This grave is now my new personal training gym. I like to think that I'm a pretty smart player, and I am aware how much that statement makes me sound like an asshole. Just bear with me, alright? Despite having extensive experience and methodical plans, even the most experienced people can make mistakes and overlook small details. Case in point, the torch item and the radiant spell both serve the same purpose of lighting up caves. Radiant has a bigger range, but it costs MP and it loses its effect over time until you can't see anything. The torch, however, is permanent. One would think that using the torch, then using radiant, and then having radiant lose its power, you would still be able to see the surrounding tiles that a torch would normally allow, right? Well, there I was, making the same assumption while I was deep in the cave, and I never stopped to think that a programmer in 1986 had better things to worry about than making special cases for similar features using limited memory space. Long story short, too late. Radiant overwrites the permanency of torch, and I was stuck in the dark. I have this wings item that takes you back to Tantagel Castle, but of course it doesn't work inside of dungeons and caves. How silly of me. Well, I kinda knew the layout of the dungeon, so then I tried wading through the darkness, and I was able to make it back up about 2 floors, but after a few minutes of fumbling around miserably in the dark, I knew I was fucked. The only way out now was through death, which was surprisingly difficult too. There's no defend or wait command, remember? And you can't waste a turn by using items that have no purpose in battle. This game is just too nice like that. So all I can do is attack. And because I've been grinding so much, I am basically taking chip damage every turn. Killing myself is gonna take a long time. God damn, finally! I don't even care that I lost my gold this time. After all the trips I've made going back into that damn grave, I am finally able to survive and make it to the legendary harp. I cannot express how righteously satisfying it is to blaze through these enemies after all the suffering I've endured. But it's all worth it now that I have this harp. And I don't even have to walk all the way back to the surface either. I learned the outside spell, which, as its name implies, takes me outside of the dungeon areas. Yeah, take that, bitches! I'll go back to that old man and trade him the harp for the Staff of Rain. What does it do? I don't know. I just know I need it for some reason. And with that task completed, the only logical step to take now is to go to areas I haven't been to yet, like the Southwest. I make my way down there and proceed to immediately get decimated by brand new enemies, which means that I must continue to grind again. But you know what? There's been a bit too much ranting lately. How about I talk about the more positive aspects of the game? you'll immediately notice the game's medievally Elizabethan English. There are thees and thous, dosts and hasts. It has this wonderfully inefficient way of communicating. For instance, thy experience increases by 4 instead of you gained 4 experience. It's honestly a nice touch, and it makes everything feel much more grandiose than it really should. There's some weird situations in this game too. I equipped that fighter's ring assuming it helps with combat somehow. It is an RPG after all. And I talked to this guy in Rimeldar, and he says, "Is that a wedding ring? Thou seems too young to be married." Hey Boomer, I'll have you know that I wear this ring for its combat-enhancing capabilities! Just outside the boundaries of that same town, there's this guy, Orwick, who says he's waiting for his girlfriend. And if I circle all the way around the outskirts, I'll find this lady who says, "Orwick is late again. I'm starving." Now my first thought is that Orwick is an ass because this isn't the first time he's been late to a rendezvous, implying that he's bad with time management or memory. However, upon further analysis, it appears that this may not be the case. Who's to say that this woman is blameless? Am I to believe everything I'm told as fact? Maybe she's gaslighting Orwick by telling him one thing and then changing her mind later. Or perhaps, among other qualities I assume that they have in common, they both share the trait of being forgetful. I don't think there's enough evidence here to conclusively determine who is at fault. So, sorry, reddit.com/r/am-I-the-asshole, but think about how much this must suck for both parties involved. This is a video game, and there is no game state that has either of these two reuniting with each other. They are both permanently stuck in the state of waiting for each other. That's kind of funny in a slightly perverse way, and I feel like that might be part of the joke here. Truly, these two are a match made in purgatory. Anyways, there's no party in this game, which at first seems like a total downside. No partners in battle does make the combat more boring. On the other hand, with no accompanying comrades, helper fairies, or tutorial robots, it's just you on your magnificent quest. This is your adventure and yours alone. Gives the experience a bit of a somber, melancholic feel, but it's also kind of an empowering feeling because you have to rely on your own wit and strength to navigate these challenges and finish your quest. The grinding process, as mundane as it is, becomes kind of relaxing too. It's minimally demanding, so you can shut your brain off, or multitask if you want. I guess I see why people like Animal Crossing so much now. One more cool feature is when you stand still for a couple of seconds, a little status screen pops up on the side displaying key information like HP, MP, and all that kind of stuff. Just one more unexpected quality of life feature in this game. Now I've heard a lot of what the NES and Famicom have to offer in terms of music, and originally I was going to rant about all the shortcomings of the music in Dragon Quest. But then I realized that I was being a big fucking idiot because when this game released, the Famicom library was nowhere close to reaching its complete size. The best music on the platform at the time came from Nintendo, with I think Balloon Fight and Super Mario Bros. Maybe having the best music. Those games were still small though, and likewise had track lists that I can count on one hand. Dragon Quest has 9 unique songs, and even more if you count the cave renditions. The compositions are generally good and suit the game well. The town music is happy and perky, the overworld music sounds vast and sweeping, the cave music is dark and moody. You know, the vibes you'd expect from these locales. Of course, the bombastic title theme needs no introduction. It's a song that captures the mood of adventure so well that they continue to use it to this day. What's especially cool is every time you go down a set of stairs in dungeon areas, a slower, moodier version of the cave theme plays, mirroring the feeling of delving deeper into the depths. And what's that? Dynamic music? In an early Famicom game? Yeah, sort of. This was even before Mario World and Banjo-Kazooie. Not as seamless as either of those examples, but technically more impressive. The most offensive song in the entire game is without a doubt the battle theme. You know, the song that even musically bankrupt people can hum because they've been forced to listen to it so many times. Let me ask a question with an obvious answer. What is the point of music in any game? To convey the feeling that matches what's happening on the screen. The battling is the most action-packed part of any RPG, and every battle theme I've heard from RPGs has an energy that gets my blood pumping. Now, does this music make you feel like you're using your wits and strength to dispatch mighty foes? Well, it's not working for me. It's too sluggish and sloppy to match the energy of combat, with the exception of the obnoxious arpeggio towards the end of the song. If I were to paint a picture using this song as a source of inspiration, it would look like two drunken fuckwit generals in Civil War-era America trying to resolve their conflict with fists wistfully gliding through the air. That's not the energy you want for a gallant hero poking skeletons and dragons with his broadsword. What's even worse is that it fucking interrupts the current song playing. So with every encounter, you keep switching between two songs of varying quality, never fully hearing either of them. This whole situation is guaranteed to piss every player off. It'll make you mad because the battle theme is so short, repetitive, and awful. It'll make you mad because the theme is constantly interrupting better music. It'll make you mad because you're forced to hear this song so much. The soundtrack is still impressive for its time. God, I really fucking hate that battle theme though. So, anyways, here I am, grinding away, again, as usual. This time I'm trekking down to the southwest region, and at least I have the repel spell now. It is an absolute godsend. It temporarily keeps weak enemies away, and then for the stronger ones, I just debilitate them by putting them to sleep and disabling their magic before I proceed to gut them whole. That's right, I'm just like those assholes in Pokemon Red and Blue that keep using Sand Attack. It's actually kind of cruel if you think about it. This is the equivalent to breaking someone's limbs so they can't fight back before proceeding to brutally murder them. There's a ruined town around this part of the world, and I thought I'd check it out after getting some more levels. But lo and behold, it's filled with buff dudes waiting to Shrek me to pieces. This wolf guy had me near death for like 7 turns until I could finally leave. If only there was some way to get lots of XP. Oh, why hello there, it's a metal slime. I've heard about these guys. They're supposed to give you lots of experience, but they're pretty hard to kill. Maybe I can put it to sleep. Nope, doesn't look like it. And he's gone. Well, I encountered him around this wooded area, so I might as well grind here in hopes of meeting more metal slimes. And wouldn't you know it, here's another one. Maybe Hurt does more damage? Nope. Just gotta beat him the old-fashioned way. Damn, that one left too. God, these little bastards know how valuable they are to me. They know what I want, they know what I need, and they just show up to laugh in my face and tease me. It's at this point that I decided to do a little research. Normally, I would refrain from doing something like this, but I had already put in so much time playing and learning that I earned the right to cheat. And it turns out that beating these particular slimes comes down to mere chance. Their stats are so astronomically high that if I was able to kill them consistently, I would probably already be at the maximum level. Just gotta cross your fingers and channel your prayers specifically to the Yuji Horii of 1986 that you will kill the metal slimes. Or don't do any of that, because I certainly didn't and wound up killing 2 of them back to back. Yeah, how's that for luck? I mean, it only boosted me up by like 1 level, but I'll fucking take anything, man. Thus, due to the process of continuously murdering monsters while not dying, I've also accumulated a massive stack of cash. Look at this. 22,000 gold. I don't think I need any more money for the rest of the game. Which means that if you've been playing this game the way that I have, then you can tell the goldmen to go fuck themselves because they mainly give you gold. I have a craving for the experience, and the bad dudes won't give it to me. It's a drug. Now I know how bodybuilders feel when they're making gains.
It's as satisfying to me as coming is. I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home. When I pose out in front of 5,000 people, I get the same feeling. So I'm coming day and night.
With the ability to now walk around and not get curb stomped by these southern enemies, I have the freedom to see what the rest of the map has to offer. And what does it have to offer? The short answer would be a town. The long answer is a town. And a pointless maze that circumnavigates the very same town. I went down both routes just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. If I'm one thing, it is thorough. And boy did I encounter some obnoxious enemies, namely the wyverns and especially the magi-wyverns. I can put them to sleep, sometimes, but then they just wake up and breathe fire. Better yet, they can put me to sleep and use stop spell. And when that happens, just hope that you can run away. Because goddamn, are they some stupid bitches. So this town, the last one on the map, has a golem guarding it, and he is one tough son of a bitch. Had I known that he was in front of the entrance, I wouldn't have fucked with him, but due to the random encounter system, there aren't any enemies on the overworld map. So how could I know? And you want to know what else? The golem looks exactly like the Goldman, and oh Jesus, I really hope that the name Goldman wasn't meant to be a pun on golem, because if it was, then that took me way too long to realize it. This guy is straight up whooping my ass, and I don't know what else to do. It's gotta be a scripted battle, right? How do I beat him? This is the last place on the map that I haven't been to yet, and I can't think of any way through. But wait a minute. Wasn't there something that I forgot about? Like some enemy that I encountered hours ago that was too lethal to touch? Oh, that's right, the dragon in the cave! Okay, forget the golem, back to the cave. I went to the spot where the dragon appears and basically crucified him because my character was so stacked. There's gotta be something good in this cave if a freaking dragon is guarding it and it's behind a locked door. So, I gently open the door and... oh, it's the princess. Gwaelin. Right, I forgot about all of that. Look, I've had a long journey. I've been exploring fields, caves, mountains, and crypts. I've been talking to everyone I meet in hopes of finding out where to go next. And after countless hours of slaying beast after beast just to be strong enough not to get killed by the next beast on the road, it's easy to forget that one of my missions was to find a princess who I never even met before. Hilariously, you're even giving the option of turning her down when she wants to join you. So naturally I told her no, because I gotta see what happens. But thou must, she demands. Designers aren't having any of my shit. I like it. So I pick up the princess. No, literally, I pick her up. And I carry her royal ass over field and mountain all the way back to the starting castle to reunite her with her father. You'd think that returning her to the castle would be it. But there's more.
Dear God, no.
For rescuing the princess, I'm actually rewarded. It appears that I've earned her love. No, really. I acquired Gwaelin's love. As in, an actually tangible item, visible in inventory. See? Look, Gwaelin's love. Now that is funny. What does it do though? Nothing for all I know. I bet that Gwaelin of all people would know what I can do with her own love, so I thought I'd talk to her and see if she had any information. Do you love me? No. But thou must! God damn it. I started talking to other people again, and one of them jogged my memory about the flute. Yeah, some flute I picked up a while back. Turns out that I can force the golem to sleep by playing the flute, which should let me into the final town. So I go back there, face off with the golem, win easily, and strut my way into Cantlin. The first guy I talked to isn't particularly useful. All he says is that he knows nothing. Well, at least he's honest about it. There's an empty hut or closet here with nothing inside, even when you search the ground. So I'm not sure what the point of that was. This guy right here is selling radishes. Can I buy any? Nope. So I wander around for a short while and enter some building in the center of the town, or at least I think it's a building. There's some death tiles on the ground. That has to mean that this guy has something for me. So let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, there's like 8 of these tiles. Each one does 10 damage for walking on it, I think? So I could definitely make it, no problem. Okay, here we go. We're walking, I'm walking, we're going... Fuck! Okay, I'll just do that all over again. Fight the golem and all that, it's fine. Not that bad, no, not even close to being that bad. Really should have just counted them out and healed beforehand anyways. You play with fire, fingers get burned. It's happened plenty of times during this playthrough. I should fucking know by now. Alright, so, I didn't fuck it up this time. Mr. Golem was constantly waking up for some reason, but whatever. Before I try talking to that old dude again, I want to see what else is going on here. I met a guy named Nestor, and that's it. He just says that he's called Nestor. Sick Nintendo Power reference, bro. I learned that someone named Wynn used to have Erdrick's armor, and that he lived in the abandoned town that I was at earlier, Hawksness. The town is called Hawksness, not Harkness. And no, it wouldn't pass the test anyways. So tell me the armor is buried under a tree, and hopefully that's all I need to get this armor. But before I leave, I'm walking across those death tiles to talk to that old goat. And this time, I'm not fucking around. And this time, I'm not fucking around. I'm fucking around. I'm MySpace.
Wow. MySpace. I knew it.
May the light be thy strength. Thou may go and search from Tentacle Castle. Travel 70 leagues to the south and 40 to the east. Thanks, old man. I can't wait to go on a grand quest to look for whatever it is you buried there. No, I'm not going to die walking over the tiles again. Thank you very much. Okay, off to Hawksness. I get there, I look around, I find the tree, and holy shit, it's an axe knight. He's kinda tough. I wasn't expecting an axe-wielding knight to be capable of putting me to sleep, but he did. Nothing stop spell can't fix though. So I kill him, search the tree, and ta-da! Erdrick's armor. Watch out, fuckers, you can't touch me now! It even has a healing effect for every step I take outside of battle. Super useful. All that's left to do now is find that buried thing. 40 paces east and 70 paces south of the starting castle. I just gotta keep track of the steps. Okay, here we go. God damn. The search for this particular item has been, without a doubt, one of the most agonizing and miserable experiences I've ever partaken in throughout my entire life. Which says a lot because I've gone through a ton of suffering so far. See, it all began like many of my foul experiences with this game had begun. I did something wrong. Instead of carefully listening to the old man's directions, I started by counting off my steps west of Tantagel Castle. He specifically said east. So there I was, circumnavigating the terrain, adding and subtracting my paces east and west, north and south, when I reached the edge of the map, and I was about 30 paces. The man said 40, and I'm as west can be. Only then did I realize that I'd wasted my time. So back to Tantagel I go. This time I actually went the right direction, which is coincidentally also rightwards on the screen. So there I go, to the east. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, fuck. Mountains. Okay, here we go west, 10 paces, then north 16 paces, then we go to the right. Oh, hold on, repel lost its effect. Gotta cast it again. Okay, good. Okay, that's 7, whatever. The amount of steps to the east of the castle. Okay, whew. Now we keep walking to the right. 40 paces. Or, was it 40? I lost count. I gotta do that all over again. Okay, I'm back to where I was. This is definitely 40 paces to the east. Now, south. Shit! There's a river here! To cross it, I have to go through the cave, which is fine. I think I can pick a square on the other side of the river, then kind of like count the squares between them. From there, I can get right back on track. Okay, so through the cave, go west. Find the corner that I stopped and noted on the other side. Count the water tiles. Wait, is this right? Yes, this is the right one. Okay, how many down south from the North Shore? 5? God, it's so hard to count when the pattern repeats itself like this. On the west side, it's narrower. Okay, so it's definitely 5 over there. And I went down to, so that's like 7 total? So 7, subtract that from the total. Now I can go south again. Okay, this continent has all these little bays and coves and shit. So even though I'm lined up 40 east, I have to keep going right and make note by how much I'm offset from 40 by. Confused yet? Well, you should be. Even without me royally ruining things from the start, counting these steps is a mess. It's just one big medieval mess. Wait, did I walk 3 or 4 paces to the right? That's all the way back to the river. Now go down south again. Continue on the way, cross the bridge, and I've reached 70 paces. I'm pretty sure. I'm 95% certain that this is 75 paces south. But guess what? By following along this coastline, I'm like 20 paces too far to the east. Which means I'm on the wrong fucking continent! Now, I have to do the same shit that I was doing for that river and hope to fuck that I can see the same tile from the other side, which is extremely difficult to do since everything looks the same! And do you know what that landmass to the left is? It's the southernmost continent in the game, which means that to get there, I need to go all the way around on the other side of the game world. Perfect. Just perfect. So now, after walking all the way to the other side of the sea or crossing or whatever the fuck this godforsaken body of water is called, now I can continue my counting. I'm almost there. I can sense the item nearby. I just need to take some more steps to the west now and a few more to the south. And if I'm correct, then it should be right here. No? Right here. Oh, maybe I just need to search all the tiles in this area? Oh, fuck, man. I still can't find this thing! So, here's the deal. In desperation, I looked up where this thing was supposed to be, and get this. Gwaelin's Love, the same Gwaelin's Love that did absolutely nothing when I tried it out, actually tells you how far away from the castle you are. What the fuck? Obviously, it only does that when you're on the overworld, and why would any item have a different effect depending on whether I use it inside of a town or not? That's like if shooting a gun outside fires a bullet, and shooting the very same gun indoors plays Huey Lewis on the news.
Holy shit.
So this whole fucking time, instead of waddling around like a lost child in Disneyland, another miserable experience that I've had in life, I could have pinpointed the exact location of this piece of swamp garbage in 5 minutes! Now that's the power of love! But, well, at least I was close to the general area of where it was, which is the equivalent of receiving an award with "You Tried" engraved on it. You'll have to forgive me for not getting footage of me picking up this emblem. In my frustration, I had failed to hit record after doing my research. You weren't missing much, though. Trust me. So finally, I go to that old bastard in the southeast corner of the map. Because I'm decked out with licensed Erdrick fanboy paraphernalia, he gives me the rainbow drop. Oh yeah, now it's all coming together. I can now make that bridge to the Dragonlord's castle. I cross the bridge. I navigate the narrow valley pathway to his castle. This is it. No turning back now. Inside the castle, there's... Dear God, no.
No.
Different pathways to different stairwells. Neither of the staircases go anywhere, so what do? Why, I find the obvious hidden passage behind the throne, of course. Now it is truly time to plunge deep into the depths of the Dragonlord's castle, find the resting place of Erdrick's legendary sword, and holy fucking shit, I'm getting pounded to a pulp again! Son of a fucking bitch, that does it! More fucking grinding! I'm so fucking mad. I've done so much work, so much leveling. I am right at the end. Why won't you just let me have this? Every time something goes right for me, or I have something good to say, the game has to come out and outright ruin everything by shitting on my face. Limitations be damned. I hate that this game only has one save location. That's right. The whole time I've been playing, if I wanted to save for any reason, that meant that I had to haul my ass all the way to Tantegel Castle and talk to the king. What a pain. It would have been really nice if there were other towns to save in, so I wouldn't have had to do that. I like that the game is fairly hands-off in telling you what to do, but the downside is that you can miss key details if you're not thorough. Go everywhere, talk to everyone. Might as well write everything down too while you're at it. And do you think the average person, whom I don't need to remind you was the target demographic for this game, has the patience for this shit? Jesus, I even had to talk to the same characters over again to remember, oh yeah, the flute puts enemies to sleep. I also thought it was cool that you had to learn about enemies, spells, and items through trial and error, and it was sort of cool, but in the situation of buying equipment, it fucking sucks. Hard. I have no idea how much better this iron mail is compared to my leather armor that I already have. All I know is that it's 10 times more expensive. So do I buy this armor right now, or do I wait until I find a more expensive and hopefully stronger one in a different town? Another excellent question is, why am I limited to 6 herbs in my inventory? Surely it wouldn't break the game if I were able to have, say, 8 or 16 or some other power of 2, right? It wouldn't even help me out that much because they become near useless towards the later half of the game. The only use I had at that point was using all 6 outside of battle as one full heal that did not tap into my magic. Even better question, why aren't there any other healing items? Why isn't there an MP regenerative item? Why are they even herbs? Don't even get me started on those goddamn magic keys. I hate them. I despise them. I have no idea when I can fight new enemies. If I try to engage with a dude that ends up being super strong, I clearly run the risk of getting killed. But the likelihood of me being able to successfully run away is tied to how strong the other enemy is. So, if this wolf is stronger than I am, I have a lower chance of running from the battle. And this might be okay if I could control when and with what I have an encounter with, but oh wait, encounters are dictated by complete random. Speaking of which, you'd think that I would absolutely abhor the random battles. That's the universal bitching topic everyone has with JRPGs. I hear it all the time from everyone. So I should hate it too, right? I should, and I used to hate them too, but I spent so much time grinding and triggering battles that I just stopped caring. It quickly became second nature, like, of course this game has random battles. What are you, freaking stupid or something? I almost forgot to even mention the encounter system because my brain had grown so accustomed to it. Every time I actually got an encounter, I was even happy because it meant that I could stop pacing back and forth and get some gains. Besides, are random battles so bad? Memory was scarce for consoles and computers, and wouldn't monsters try to get the jump on you IRL? Shit, with a character as ripped as mine, that would be the only way they'd stand a chance. I won't deny that it is very possible that I've sucked the fun out of this game. This probably isn't the way that they intended me to play the game, but can you blame me? We humans hate losing so fucking much that we do everything in our power to avoid feeling like something was taken from us. That's what I was doing. That's why I was grinding the way I was, because I didn't want to throw away all the time I spent getting the resources I needed to actually progress. You can hear me. I sound like I'm mad. I sound like I'm the very, very upset Grandpa Gaming Rage Nerd. But there were times where I actually found myself enjoying this game. The only reason why I don't hate this game as much as I probably should is because I knew what I was getting into beforehand, and my expectations were abysmally low. I forecasted nothing but pain. I did find a lot of pain, but I was also surprised to find it not as bad as I thought it would be. Yeah, going in expecting Nazi Germany, instead finding present-day United States will do that to a man. It's still a cruel place to live, but it's not as oppressive as the alternatives. Yeah, playing this game as a kid was out of the question for me. I only became familiar with RPGs because of action-heavy ones like Paper Mario and Kingdom Hearts. Anything that heavily involved menus made me do a 360 and walk away from them. You really would have to be a particular person to get into this game, which is probably why it flopped so hard in America, they had to use it as a Nintendo Power promo. Yes, really, look it up. I'm assuming that back in the 80s, Americans had little tolerance for stuff without action, which is possibly why Zelda had a better response than Dragon Quest ever did. Whew, okay, well, I've calmed down a bit after all of that. I carried out my standard grinding procedure, gained some levels, and was strong enough to reach Erdrick's sword. So now, I'm feeling antsy, and I can take on these monsters with no problem. I lost track of how many floors deep I am, but if this music is any indication, I'm the deepest I've ever been. In addition to the final boss, there's also a room here filled with treasure chests. And maybe, there will be at least one thing that will be useful for me. 600 gold, an herb, wings. This one outright has nothing. Why am I not even surprised? Anyways, here we are. The Dragonlord. King of Kings. He offers the opportunity of ruling over half of the land if I side with him. As if. I didn't just spend the last 19 hours of my life grinding away just to join this asshole. The battle commences, and like everything else I've fought, he's straightforward. Even though my spells didn't seem to work on him, I easily defeated him. However, that wasn't even his final form. Obviously, the final boss has a second phase, one where he transforms into a massive dragon. So that's why he's called the Dragonlord. More importantly, after being forced to hear that Satan-awful battle theme the whole game, I finally have new music to accompany this battle. God, is that hot. The Dragonlord's not fucking around anymore. Once again, my spells do nothing to him. And now, all my hits deal less than 15 damage. All I can do is heal and fight. Heal and fight. I don't know if it's because I'm too weak, or because I squandered all my magic, or both, but I am done for. D-E-D, dead. Just a little bit more grinding, Stan. Okay, I got one more level, time to try again. First phase, done. His ass has been thoroughly whipped. Dragon phase, here we go. Fight, heal, fight some more, HP getting low, heal, fight, it's in the pink again, heal, fight. 13 damage every time, heal. Now my MP is sub 50, just gotta keep attacking, keep attacking. Thou hast done well in defeating the Dragonlord. Yes! I did it! Thou hast found the ball of light. Radiance streams forth as thy hands touch the object and hold it aloft. Across the land spreads the brilliance until all shadows are banished and peace is restored. Awesome. I'm teleported outside the castle too. So I'll just meander my way back to Tantagel Castle, maybe make a few stops on the way there because why not? I can talk to the townsfolk and they all congratulate me on my victory against the evil Dragonlord, saying, "Hurrah! Hurrah! Long live Svensk! And thou hast brought peace again." That's pretty neat. Didn't Earthbound do the same kind of thing after the final battle? So much for being an original, timeless masterpiece. So at last, the game is coming to a close. Here I stand before the mighty King Lorik of Tantagel Castle to present to he the mythical and stellar Bowl of Light, and be appointed as the new ruler of the land. But soft, what's this? Svensk thought carefully before answering. I cannot, said Svensk. Behold, a speaking role brought upon mine own player character within this role-playing game? What a surprise most excellent! And a twist in the tale as well! For I continue. If ever I am to rule a country, it must be a land that I myself find. Ah, indeed the most noble of a stance to hold, and one of the truest of adventurers. Off to find and create a new kingdom, with blackjack and hookers. Oh, Sir Graylin interjects. Please, wait. I wish to go with thee on thy journey. May I travel as thy companion? No. But thou must! God damn it. And thus the tale comes to an end, unless the dragons return again. Damn, not a bad way to end your game in 1986. The minimalist cutscene, the utter silence, the bare bones animation. The scene is even kind of dramatic for an early NES game. And you know what else? For what this game is, it's not too bad. People talk shit about the cliches of JRPGs, but this game basically invented all of that. Or at least introduced the concepts to common masses. Even still, it was cool to see where this giant media franchise all started. The whole experience can be categorized as a non-stop exercise in suffering, and maybe that's why I felt at home with this game. The developers were aware of the shortcomings for this one, though. That's why they kept on adding features and improving the series. The North American version, which released 3 years after the Japanese one, came with a save feature instead of a password system. Yeah, imagine writing down and typing in a fat, juicy string each time you saved and loaded your game. And then the very next game in the series even had party members implemented to make the battles less brain dead. The grinding was absolutely the greatest source of pain, and I'd like to say that it was too fucking much, especially when I passed a roadblock only for a new one to immediately show up. Whoever was in charge of remaking the first Dragon Quest must have agreed with me, because as far as I'm aware, they toned down the grinding in every subsequent version of this game. Yet, to completely remove the grinding would be a mistake. The feeling of dedicating effort, putting in the time, and being rewarded for extremely repetitive actions is euphoric. Was it hard to get there? No. But it took a lot of time and a lot of suffering. In a sense, it's a lot like life. Nobody takes up anything and is instantly a master. Everyone starts at the bottom. And it's not that the basic steps to become good are necessarily hard, it's just that there are so many of them and they require a lot of repetition to internalize them. But after spending enough time grinding away, trying to draw hands, bench 70 pounds, or play your favorite song on the piano, you'll reach the point where what once seemed daunting and impossible is now just a simple, mundane effort. The creators definitely knew this, and that might even be why there's so much grinding. To emulate real life and teach players the benefits of determination. What a philosophical message from an 80 kilobyte Nintendo cartridge. If you dedicate enough time into your goal, you can achieve it. Or if you run headfirst into a wall enough times, you might just break through it. I think I see why this series became so successful. It took the story emphasis and addictive character progression systems of tabletop and computer RPGs and made it easy and accessible. Before this, the general population, even those outside of Japan, just saw video games as little toys or distractions. This was an interactive quest that was driven by you yourself. Sure, games like this existed before, like Ultima Wizardry, and didn't Highlight even act as a source of inspiration for the first Zelda? But those were for computers. The general populace has and continues to be scared of computers and other complicated-looking pieces of technology. It outright terrifies them. The game was also on a popular video game system, where games had to be simpler for its 4-button controller. That, combined with the art, music, and sensation of adventure, were what made people stick with this game and grow an attachment to the series. Anyways, game sucks, but it was still cool. 6 out of 10? Won't play again.